what we plan to do today is that very simply I'm going to focus on 3 questions, right? How do we unlock, and we here being the industry, how do we unlock the potential? Number 2, what kind of support do we need from the government in terms of policies, fiscal or whatever? And third is, what do we see our industry and specific industry which people represent, as well as India's potato production by 2030, 2035. So I will first start with Davinder, and as an introduction, Davinder heads HZPC. The seed industry, as we have said, and NK has explained very beautifully about it, but really, where do you think are the challenges? How do we unlock them? What do we really need to do that we can meet India's growing requirements for seed?
Thank you, Sachit. See, if I look back last 5, 7, 10 years, the journey which obviously you played a leading role with respect to technology, aeroponics, technituber. But now I think the dynamics have shifted also because of the growth in processing industry. And a lot of varieties have come up in India. People threw some numbers. So a lot of the germplasm is there and it will keep coming. What do I see the bottlenecks and some of the enablers which will help us to achieve the productivity, which somebody was saying, would be technical know-how on one side, and also industry, especially from the seed industry, taking some steps, making some investments along with the other sponsors or the value chain players in the next steps in terms of differentiation, in terms of, how do we create more value. A lot is happening on the volume side of it, which is productivity, more production and all. But I think there's a big potential and big scope on the value side of it. The premiumization, the differentiation, and a lot of scope is there. A few players have taken some early bets, but I think the push is still possible. And to exploit the potential of seeds, again, R&D is a big area, because Harman also emphasized, you just bringing in the best variety doesn't mean anything in itself. It would be a fluke shot. But how do we kind of, relearn, and investment on R&D side is a very critical thing. And many times in our thinking, in our operational day-to-day things, we miss on that. And potato, I still remember first, before the JV got formed, the first presentation was HZPC to the Mahindra management was potato is equal to patience. And that will be something, with the today's world venture capitalists and everybody investing in the agri sector. So that patience part is something which requires more, promoters and sponsors to really appreciate and invest in. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Davinder. Now, Maaz here represents a company, MS International, correct? Which is India's largest exporter of potatoes, focusing on processing potatoes as well as fresh market?
Yeah, mostly on processing potatoes.
Right, and having been in this industry, it's a very difficult phase. And we have sitting next to us Sandip. Sandip is the one who pioneered exports of processing potatoes. But first to you, Maaz, I think exports play a very important role in being able to release pressure whenever we produce more. Let's say in a year like this, where there was an abundance of potatoes for processing, and you obviously would have been a release valve because your prices would have been lower. But so where do you think are the challenges in, let's say, doubling exports to what you're doing, and what can be done to, unlock the potential?
Yeah. As of now, there is a very small volume are going to the export market. Very small volume, we can say. But there is so many countries, there is a trade barrier from the country to country side, like Thailand and Philippines. And there is a untouched segment like Africa is there. So in near future, we can closely, as an industry, we can coordinate with the government bodies, and we can open the doors for so many countries there. We can easily get the good volume. And we need good varieties which we can store longer period. As of now, we are supplying only from February to August. Then remaining period, they are procuring from our competitor countries. So we need some good varieties from our partners, so we can in future we can supply around the year. This is my view.
So Davinder, something for you to do in any case, but over to Sandip. Sandip, if you can share very briefly, how did you manage to open the market for processing potatoes, number one? Number two, I know that you're also, and if you have anything to add to it, how can we actually unlock that potential? Number two, I understand you're also getting into the area of flakes. So if there is anything you want to talk about that also, you can briefly mention.
Yeah, so, I can remember my early days, when we started exporting the processing variety potatoes in the world, when India is importing potato flakes and French fry. So one time we are burning the cash reserves by importing these finished products. At the same time, I feel very proud that, India built very good reputations, and we worked really hard. We stood to our commitment, and slowly, gradually, but we opened the door, especially in the Middle East and Far East countries. I'm talking about 2009 and 10. So the journey from 2010 to 2020, it was very good. But slowly, competition increased, and unfortunately, Indian exporters deal like a low commodity value supplier rather than value additions exports. So our growth is very slow right now, and we have to really look at the new markets. We cannot survive with one or two varieties, because I think it's almost 15 years, maybe LR is in the India market. So we are facing really very, very big challenges in terms of qualities. I request in this platform that, the competition is there, but for the longer time, because the fact is our importers, they don't want a cheaper quality or less price. We are providing them a lowest price, but they want a better quality. And right now our focus is like only in the Middle East and Far East, but the market has changed. And if you want to open the doors, as Mr. Maaz has mentioned, we are trying very hard to open the market of Thailand and Philippines, which they already require Indian potatoes, but I think it's due to the government of both countries treaty, we are not able to send there. Also, it's a time now, in so many countries, they are not allowing CIPC treatment. So we really need a right variety so we can satisfy our global buyers. We need a variety where we can store potatoes, processed potatoes at a lower temperature, so it can travel to the longer distances like Africa or South Korea. Because another issue is a lot of containers are rejecting the destination because of sprouting. In my earlier days, I'm talking about 2009 and 10, the governments of like GCC countries or Middle East, they were not that much strict. Now, but everybody or all the countries are very, they strict their, phytosanitary conditions or requirements. So we really need to work very hard in terms of farm automations, in terms of precision farming, traceability, and blockchain. And we have to train our farmers for the global gap kind of practices, so we can open the new doors.
No, thank you very much. Again, varieties. So India has a natural advantage because when we produce in the month of start producing in February, and that February to August period is the period where you can't get potatoes from the West processing potatoes. And therefore, I think you rightly said it's an issue of giving them better quality, but the prices they are willing to pay, this is the desperate time for from their point of view. So I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one story. I mean, when I started, they use SK as a standby. So sometime when container delay from the Europe, they call me and they say, okay, Mr. Sandip, I want 2 containers because our production got stuck up. And then slowly they find Indian quality is better now. And then we took a risk. We adopt Europe technology with innovations like pack house or bulk packaging or jumbo pack, and then they find very reliable source with better prices. And the biggest advantage India has that we have a very short transit time. So now the scenario is changed. They use only Europe when we say no.
Very good to hear this. Well done.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Now we move on to Haresh. Now Haresh is selling potatoes, frozen potatoes and flakes, but I think he's missing out on the opportunity because somewhere he's discovered the art of staying and looking young. So if you could actually share that, he might make more money, maybe. So Haresh actually has been the pioneer of opening exports of Indian frozen potato snacks and basically mainly French fries and wedges and hash browns when nobody was there in that market, absolutely. And that, the pioneering is the most difficult job. So Haresh, now that you have pioneered, and I know this year is tough for us, but really what can be done for India to actually be able to unlock the potential of our frozen potato exports?
So as far as unlocking the potential of India is concerned, I would like to not only address, regarding frozen potato products, but in general the entire industry. In the previous, session, we have spoken about potato being versatile. I really agree with that potato is versatile in terms of various applications. We've spoken about frozen potato products like French fries, hash browns, potato chips, potato flakes. There is also potato starch possibility. And then if you look at the various food products made out of potato again is versatile. It can be mixed with so many other things like vegetables, dairy products. So the opportunity is immense in terms of, utilization of potato in various food items. And I would like to say when especially it comes to French fries, I believe, and that's the reason for me looking young as well. So I believe French fries is a food, it's not a snack. And so I was talking about the versatility aspect, but at the same time, there is also variability in the production of potato every year. Now that variability is on account of, the weather. The overall production can be higher, some years production can be lower. Now that is not in our control. We can, try to minimize this variability. Now, what is the issue with this variability in production? We need to grow this industry to, ensure that this industry, while we are talking about the growth of the potato production from 60 million to, 100 million and even upwards, we need to have a sustainable growth. Now, because of this variability in production, it tends to a lot of losses many a times for the farmers, many times for traders, processors. So, how we can do things wherein which part of the country, which states, what grade of potato, whether it is stable or processing varieties, within processing. For chips varieties or French fries varieties, where can, those, so there needs to be some kind of a guidance, probably through government bodies, through CPRI, through seed companies, wherein, this variability at least can be controlled to the aspect of, how much production of a particular variety or a particular grade of potato is being done. So, because there are many years where, despite that overall the production is low, but at the same time, the availability of processing variety either is higher or table is higher. So, there is a big difference in the cost of potato. So, that tantamounts to huge losses many times. So, if that can be controlled by, giving the right kind of guidance and also, collation of data, if that data can be available in terms of the overall production, in terms of, post-harvest storage. So if that can be improved in the country, it will be, a good step towards ensuring sustainable growth.
Thank you very much. Some very good inputs, and we'll try and summarize them at the end. Now, the next speaker is an icon by himself. He is currently the executive director at Haldiram, but his journey in potato started with a brand called Uncle Chips. And Uncle Chips was the market leader by far. When PepsiCo came, they realized that if they wanted to grow in this market, the only way they could do it is buy Uncle Chips. So that's really, and Uncle Chips is still a brand which is very, very popular in this country. Not only that, Dr. Tyagi also has the key of unlocking other potato-based products, whether it be, he's involved in his company and he's involved in manufacturing aloo bhujia. Another use which it is aloo ke samosa, aloo ke paranthe, batata vada, name it. So, Dr. Tyagi, there is world beyond French fries and wedges, which also I know you are going to be getting into sooner or later, I'm sure. But what can we really do to get the world to taste these wonderful potato snacks which your company creates?
If I just recall history of the potato, so definitely it has been done lot in the processing quality potato. And Mr. Jha told that at the time of uncleship, there was only 2% processing quality potato. Now it is 10%. To unlock the potato industry, really we need a right quality of potato at affordable price. I just give the example of that. We have achieved only Gujarat to break through up to some extent. If we recall the month of September, October, November, and part of the December. Currently also we are running the potato either in the potato chips or other product on a compromised manner. For example, if you keep the TPOD 30 or 35%, then only you can do the production of potato chips in September, October, November, December. If I change the specification, 15 to 20% TPD. If you go to the Europe, so they don't have more than 15% or 10% TPOD. And they run the same quality potato throughout the year. If we really go to give consumer the best quality with a 10 to 15% TPOD, you can't run the plant, especially in October and November and up to 15 December. So as a, because I am associated this line since 1988, so I can say that we have achieved lot of the thing, but we have not achieved the milestone in potato to unlock this category. And if we take the geographically, so currently everybody is keeping the Gujarat potato for September, October, November, December. However, we will be able to extend Punjab and UP up to August, but not up to the September, October, November. So therefore the cost of potato will become high because it had to cold storage, had transportation and market inflation, etc. And quality also deteriorate. So therefore my request to all the seed expert here is that if we want to unlock the potato industry, so we have to work on the variety, especially in Uttar Pradesh. We have to create second hub in Uttar Pradesh and third hub in the West Bengal to make the availability of the potato throughout the country. Because if anybody want to run any snack industry, he cannot run from one state. It is a multi-location, multi-plant, because the freight cost of the chips is very high. Therefore, we need the availability of the potato in West Bengal, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, and with a quality that is maximum 15% TPOD and affordable price. Affordable price we can achieve only when we will be able to create the hub in UP. We will create some variety in the UP which can run up to December and with good dry matter, so that we can get reduction of the price by 3 to 4 rupees per kg. So therefore, either we are making aloo bhujia or potato chips or maybe other potato product. We are exploring some of the more potato products. But definitely there is a vacuum to get the good quality of the potato with good dry matter and to unlock this industry. If we will be able to achieve, so believe me, the chips industry will go very far. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tyagi. Obviously, chips is your first love, like French fries is his. But Dr. Tyagi, could you tell us a little bit about how to unlock the potential of other than chips and French fries? Okay, so basically the other potato products, because you know, if whenever you, let's say when you travel, and if I see somewhere there will be a food stall selling, and I'm talking about US, Europe, wherever, samosas for the sake of example, or even if somebody tastes an aloo bhujia, the Indian ethnic potato-based snacks and dishes, why is it that, you know, that is still being sold only to the Indian diaspora but not available to the West? So let me say, French fries and wedges were not Indian snacks or hash browns. We have made them Indian snacks, or as Haresh says, it's a meal, right? So why can't we make our snacks meals or snacks for people in other parts of the world?
It is the same example just like aloo bhujia, because aloo bhujia we are exporting nearly 80 countries.
But largely to Indians only. The problem is all of it is going to Indians. It needs to go to... It's not that French fries and wedges are being eaten here by foreigners. French fries and veggies are being eaten by Indians. So why are we not able to sell? Why are we not able to sell our snacks, our ethnic snacks, to the rest of the world?
I mean, that requires a lot of the advertisement because we have to create the awareness to the other people other than Indian in the abroad. So I think we need a government support in that because any one company cannot do that. Currently, I agree with you. We are catering mainly Indian consumer also abroad outside the country. If we want to catch the foreign audience and foreign consumer, so it has to be done with a joint venture, government and private sector. So that the government will create awareness. Some of the part will be borne by the industry, some of the part of the... But believe me, if we will be able to create the awareness, for example, you take the example of moong dal. If we put sarkiri moinan in the moong dal and make the proper advertisement and export it, so it will do very well.
Sure.
You can highlight the high protein. Sarkiri moinan is an international flavor, not an Indian flavor. So we have to create international flavor with Indian product and create lot of the awareness. However, at our level, we are doing whatever best we can do, but we will be able to capture only 10% or 8% foreign buyer only.
Sure.
More than 90% is in Indian only. So that can be done, but that requires a mega awareness across the country.
No,
thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Haldiram itself can play a very instrumental role because I'm sure one of these days you will open restaurants overseas, which is one way of being able to start this. Correct. So clearly for our friends who are from the seed industry, not only Davinder, obviously the need of new varieties is the order of the day. There's we're looking at what will happen in terms of chips varieties which can store longer, especially given our growing season, which is smaller. Let me now move on to the next question, which is to do with governmental support. And some of you have actually answered it earlier. You talked about government support to open markets like Africa. Anything else you'd like to add in the area of government support? Anybody? Or you've covered it already?
I think Indian government did a very good job and they, started giving incentives to the farmers and cold storage when, India has to rely self-sufficient production of potato. But I think now time is changed and government has to change the strategy of giving subsidies or incentives. Before that, this all policies are on micro level, farm level, small scale incentives. If right now the problem is different, I think we are having surplus potatoes, and I think government has to change the strategy from micro to macro scalability. Like in India, most of them have like maximum 10,000 or 50,000 tons of cold storage. But if you look at China, they have one cold storage of 100,000 tons. So not only the cold storage, but infrastructure or processing line, we have to think now globally and scalability. So government has to change this.
Just to add, I think my submission would be to the government to kind of, attend the low-hanging fruits. One could be the data transparency, data availability and timeliness of same. Because all said and done, again, there's a lot of misinformation and potato still operates on sentiments. People will still continue to take speculative calls, but then also I still feel then they won't be taking blind speculative calls. If the data transparency is there, especially with respect to stocks, because all our stocks are in the cold stores after March. And that kind of visibility will help the value chain players to take more informed calls versus, playing totally blind. And mostly in such situations when it's sentiment driven, the end loser is the person who is much away from the data, and that ends up to be a small trader or farmer at one end of the chain. So that's one. And secondly, we have a lot of cost advantage with varieties and everything coming and labor cost advantage. And also we know the major world population is still in Asia, Africa and those kind of countries. And technically we know that many countries in Southeast Asia, because of their climatic conditions, they cannot be very competitive in self-production of potato. So which is a sustainable business models can develop around that, but that requires maybe for seed export, mini tuber export is already happening, and there's more scope to do more and more because world over there's a trend for local seed production also. But India, I find, has a big potential to start exporting seeds, which is a more value-added product than just exporting ware, like on one side processing potatoes. So seed export is something where the bilateral agreements, the quarantine, the phyto, how do we create an enabling network or enabling environment for the private players to operate and start leveraging those opportunities. These are, I mean, two asks from the government.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else wants to add anything on the government front? Or you've already done?
So I would, like to talk about something which will sound a very bold step actually to be discussing on, any platform as such. See, what is very much required, I believe, for the industry as a whole, since we've been talking about, in India, we have smallholder farmers. So the only way to be able to, get them to grow the right quality, right variety is the involvement of, sponsors, whether it is a processing company. So contract farming is actually, in case of potato, happening already a lot, and it is very important for the farmers to be able to, grow the right quality, right variety, and also make money out of potato farming. Now, while we have been doing contract farming, but then a lot of times we are shying away of talking about it, and it's mainly because it's a sensitive subject primarily. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that we should really, as an industry, get together and see how there can be regulation on contract farming. We all know that there were some farm bills which were being introduced, but then were rolled back. But I believe that it is very, very important for us as an industry to, propose regulation on contract farming. Because many times we observe that there are confusions as far as the state governments are concerned when it comes to how contract farming should be, adhered to. So we have been, starting to face certain challenges, especially I would say in the state of Gujarat. That's one. So it's very much required that there should be a regulation. Secondly, from the government side, there has been a lot of support, incentives, whether it is, subsidies on infrastructure, and there have, basically government has been promoting. But at the same time, there are, times where when it comes to various subsidy schemes or various promotions, various policies, despite the fact that potato happens to be a very important crop, I believe out of 350 million tons, 60 million tons is potato, but many a times we get to hear that, why potato, why don't you do something else? And sometimes why only this state, why not other states, right? And like for example, this year there was, some talks even in, so because see, there has to be a clarity in terms of various government officials as well, how these policies need to be looked at. One problem which we faced was that whether these cold storages that are being built, are those really meant only for farmers, or even those cold storages can be offered to processors or traders. So there is lack of, clarity sometimes.
Dr. Saab, anything else you'd like to add from the government point of view? Okay. No, I think this is very interesting because there are a lot of issues and there are a lot of misconceptions about potatoes. All of us who love potatoes know that people think potatoes are unhealthy, which is completely wrong. I've heard people, doctors saying don't eat potatoes because you have diabetes. All kinds of nonsense goes around per se. And there is obviously a need to be able to, and the kind of items which you have raised, there's need for us to get together as an industry, that we can present our point of view in a logical, coherent manner, not only to the government, but also to even consumers. How do we change the image of potatoes?
I would just like to add one more point. Actually, this is a very excellent platform where we have all got together. Why shouldn't we propose to have a industry association?
So that's what I was kind of actually also coming to totally. And we've had this discussion. So you're right, this platform, this is one of the objectives of this platform, to get everybody together. And there will be divergence. There's always a difference between the farmer perspective and the processor perspective, and so on and so forth. But I think if we can look at the greater good, that might be very, very useful. And I take your point of view that why does the government think of small scale? Like Sandip said, that when you want to be globally competitive, then you need to have global scale of production. So subsidies actually have to be in that global scale of production rather than in small scale, because then you can never really open up and unlock the potential. And things like data, etc. I think those are very issues. And the point which Dr. Tyagi said, that if you want Indian snacks there are foreign embassies who are promoting California almonds, or there'll be something coming from New Zealand kiwis. We do it for some items, for fresh fruits. Maybe it's better to do it for processed items, because that adds a shelf life in any case. Quickly, where do you see your industry being in 2030 or 2035, whatever you see it to be? Where do you see your industry going, and where do you see India's potato production being somewhere by, let's say, 2035? We are already 60 million. We have grown from 20 to 60 roughly about 3 times. China in the same time has gone from 60 to 90, which is 1.5 times. So we have a higher growth rate. But quickly, if you can just answer that, that will be useful.
I want to just say about the export numbers. Like as of now, we are exporting processed varieties potatoes around 172,000 metric ton only. And in coming 10 years, we are thinking that it will be around more than 300,000 metric ton will be the processed variety export in coming 10 years. Maybe like we are thinking, and we already taken some steps regarding the more pack house for the more export within a 1 day or within a 1 week. So as of now, we have 3 pack house, and in future also we are going to build some more. So in future, we are thinking that it will be around export of processed variety around 300,000 metric ton.
Yeah, that's $1 million question. I think, unfortunately, I don't have a clear answer to that. But one thing I'm very sure of, it will only go up and up, because there is a vision document by CPRI which also talks about 120 million tons of potato, and also a methodology, how it's calculated. The processing potatoes, is growing from 2% 20 years back, now more than 10%, and the French fry revolution, in a way. It will have its shares of years of reckoning. Sometimes the growth will be more next year, sometimes, the correction will happen. But all said and done, it will be a positive growth, and especially many things can happen, because still the base is very low, especially from the processing for domestic as well as for exports. And I think technology adoption and knowledge, these are the 2 key things which will again, bring a lot of stability or sustainability. Industry, I think we have been talking about industry body, that's need of the hour, because trust and long-term vision, these are 2, again 2 areas where industry has to come together. Because I've seen many examples. There's even between value chain players, customer and suppliers, there's always a little bit of distrust, everybody trying to do everything, and then putting it, is it cost, is it quality? But I think a lot can happen if experts do their job, and inefficiencies in the value chain certainly has to go down. So potato is going to be a successful story. Also, it's complemented with maize. Indian farmers are small. Maize is growing. If you look at the various crops in Indian domain, so maize and potato complement together, because either you can grow wheat or you can have a crop of potato plus maize in many northern states of India. So that's one side, and also Jokham very clearly stated, with the 3 times the production per acre or productivity increase, the cost increment can be limited. Also, in our experience, we see with the new varieties, when we do contract farming, there are farmers who are taking, say, 10 tons per hectare because they missed something on discipline side, and there are farmers who are taking 25 tons easily, or even 30, 35 tons for seed, and with the same domain. So that kind of a variability points towards only one thing. There's a scope for more and more efficiency. So yes, in the long run, 3 to 5 years, if I have to put a number, French fries, these guys can tell better, but overall 2 to 3% CAGR is something one can bet on.
So, straight to your question, short and sweet. I think with the help of contract farming, new seed varieties, precision farming, I think in 2030, we will cross around, or in, you can say 70 million tons plus minus 2-3%. That is my short answer.
So from the industry standpoint, from frozen potato industry, I believe that as of today, we are processing around 1 million tons of potato. I believe by 2030, we could reach 2 million. And by 2035, I see that number going up to 5 million. In terms of potato production, while we are at 60 million tons today, by 2030, I believe this number can go anywhere between 65 to 70. And by 2035, it could be around 75 to 80. But then as far as the levels of processing are concerned, is where there needs to be, higher growth. If I talk about the total consumption of frozen potato products, like I mentioned, 2 million tons of potato that can be translated to around 1 million tons of frozen potato products, right, by 2030. But I believe the potential is much more, and linking it to your question on the popularity of Indian products like samosas, aloo tikkis, I believe there is a huge potential within India. Now, we are used to eating these snacks a lot, these food products a lot, but at the same time, the shift from fresh to frozen is not yet happening in India. So if that gets accelerated, which is, bound to happen, the shift towards convenience foods is, going to happen, but it is relatively very, very slow. Now, if that were to happen, this 2 million can even become 5 million within 2030, is the potential we have.
I love the ambition and I love the ideas. Dr. Saab, anything?
As far as our industry is concerned, we are going to promote our restaurant internationally, because we have first restaurant we have opened in Dubai.
Yes, I think.
And I think 2026, we are going to open 3 to 4 restaurants in US market. So in the restaurant, we are already selling the frozen product. We are exporting the frozen samosa, frozen tikki, because whatever base kitchen we have in India, we are exporting to the Dubai also all the frozen product. So this is the one way to do the market of our potato and frozen product. And in the Dubai restaurant, currently our 10% consumer is foreign, 10 to 15% consumer is the foreign. So this is also way to tap that. Sure. As soon as our restaurant will multiply in US or other country, definitely our demand of the other product, frozen product, will increase automatically. So this is the unlocking of the potato product or our industry. And we are estimating about double consumption of the potato in next 5 years by way of potato chips, by way of the frozen product which will be used in the restaurant, by way of putting other products just like a potato flakes, just like a French fries, etc. product. So I estimate our potato consumption will become the double.
No, fantastic. That's the kind of aggression we need. And personally, I hope you enjoyed the session, but the kind of dynamism this group has. Obviously, Dosanjh has to do all the work of getting the right varieties, and so do all of you who are here from breeders and seed companies, totally. But clearly, the potential is far greater, and I think we need to get together as an industry to be able to, as we said before, represent our viewpoint. And I think the India potential is a fantastic number, because we hardly consume, our per capita is very low, and as Haresh has mentioned, there's an issue of frozen. I think the duty and GST cuts have really made things very easy for us. But minds have to change. And for minds to change, there has to be collective work, like you remember the way it happened with eggs at a point of time, and so on and so forth. And the area of ethnic snacks, I think, is one which does need to be explored from a global perspective, even from an Indian context. If I go and buy something from an outlet versus if I take a frozen and I kind of do it at home, the cost economics are vastly in favor of doing it. And you also monitor, you're able to look at the quality the way you want it. So let's talk about this offline. My general experience has been that industry associations are very difficult to form. When you get back to working on your business, you don't have time to answer those questions which are needed or the support that is needed because you all want to chase your businesses. But let's give it a chance. If you really want to succeed, the only way we can succeed is together. And together we are really unbeatable. So thank you, panelists, for this wonderful session, and thank you, audience, for being so patient. Thanks a lot. If you have questions, maybe we can do it separately. That might be better, right?